Alright, and shalom. Welcome to Cover with Jeremy Pyers. Hope everybody had an awesome, amazing week. So today we're going to do Jubilees, the Book of Jubilees, Part 3. And there's a lot jam-packed into these. It's just so amazing, though. So amazing. And I love it. I just love scriptures. That's what I do. That's why I made this whole YouTube. That's why I started doing this whole YouTube thing. Excuse me. Anyway, so I'd like to give a special shout out to a special lady that I met. Her name's Madison. I know you're here, but you're just shy. But how you doing? Anyways, thanks for joining me. Welcome all. Welcome. So we're going to jump right in. Well, switch things up here. We're going to jump right into the reading here. And we left off on chapter 5. Excuse me. Alright. Excuse me. Had to take a little drink there. Apologies. Thank you, Alyssa. Welcome. Shalom, shalom. Alright, and it came to pass, when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born unto them, that the angels of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon. And they took themselves women of all whom they choose, and they bore unto them sons, and they were Nephilim. So bam, right off the bat, Nephilim. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And if you haven't noticed, this is lining up exactly with Genesis and all that. So those who like to throw this book out, not only is it historically accurate, it's scripturally accurate. And it's in every other canon around the world except the American canon. Why? Because it brings so much insight to so many things. Don't be tossing out books. Don't be tossing them out. That's what churchianity did. Anyway. And iniquity increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way. Alike men and cattle and beasts and birds, and everything that walks on the earth, all of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And iniquity increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continually. Excuse me. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy men, and all flesh upon the face of the earth which he had created. But Noah found grace before the eyes of Yahweh. And against the angels who he had sent up on the earth, he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth, and he gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion, and he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and they are kept separate. So these are the watchers who are here. He's mentioning here, and they're bound, and they can't. Where they are now, they can't escape. But their children they have. Those are the ones. Those are the unclean spirits, the demons, what have you. That's what's rampant on the earth right now. They're minions of Hasatan. And against her sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with the sword, and be removed from under heaven. And he said, My Ruach shall not always abide on man, for they also are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. So before this time, people were living to like 1,000 years old almost. Before the flood of Noah. After the flood, this is why people only live about 120 years at best. With all the pharmakia and all that nowadays, 60, 70 at best. Stay away from pharmakia. And he sent his sword into their midst, that he should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other, until they all fell by the sword, and they were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction. That was also the angels' punishment. They got to witness their sons kill each other. And after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the great day of condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before Yahweh. So again, once the watcher fallen angels that were sent to actually lead us in the right ways, they became corrupt, had sex with women, had children, then guess what? They got to watch their children die that they were so proud of. Then they were cast into the depths forever. Ouch. Not really worth that. If you read the book of, I believe it's the book of the giants, it talks about how they weep. Or maybe it's the book of Enoch. One of the two. It's about how they weep. And Enoch straight up tells them, why are you just sitting here crying? Cry out. Beg for forgiveness. Even though they have no forgiveness, but doesn't mean they can't beg for it. And he destroys all from their places, and there was not left one of them who he had judged not according to all their wickedness. And he made for all his works a new and righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous, each in his kind, always. And the judgment of all is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets in righteousness, even the judgment of all who depart from the path which is ordained for them to walk in. And if they walk not therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. See, look at that. If they depart from the path which is ordained from them, every creature and every kind. What's our ordained path? Our ordained path is to praise Yahweh and give Him worship and praise. And there is nothing in the heaven or on earth, or in light or in darkness, or in Sheol or in the depth, or in the place of darkness, which is not judged. And all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved. In regard to all He will judge the great according to His greatness, and the small according to His smallness, and each according to his way. And He is not one who will regard the person of any, nor is He one who will receive gifts. So this is saying He doesn't care about your feelings, and He's not going to take a bribe. You will be judged for what your actions are, and that's that. There's no getting out of it. That's why you have to repent, and turn to His ways, His laws. If He says that He will execute judgment on each, if one gave everything that is on earth, He will not regard the gifts or the persons of any, or accept anything at His hands, for He is a righteous judge. You know, that's what Satan, he has all the earth right now. And even that, it means nothing. Satan's already got his judgment as well. He just didn't sin like the Watchers did and have sex with women. So he didn't get condemned for that act. He's pretty smart, and he knows what he can get away with to not be permanently condemned. He does just enough to not get permanently condemned. And that's what he's been doing ever since he went into that serpent. And the children of Yasharel, it has been written and ordained, if they turn to Him in righteousness, He will forgive all their transgressions and pardon all their sins. It is written and ordained that He will show mercy to all who turn from their guilt once each year. And if you know about the festivals and the feasts, it's actually 3 times a year all males are supposed to go present themselves, and then there's once a year where everyone. But we'll get into that as well. Not in this one. I know there's a lot of questions about the feasts and everything. He writes them down for us. It's all in the Old Testament. Messiah followed them as well. He celebrated every single one of them. And as for all those who corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood, no man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone. For his person was accepted in behalf of his sons, who Elohim saved from the waters of the flood on his account. And see, Noah was the righteous one. His sons and his wives and their wives, they might have been righteous, but not as righteous as Noah, which is why corruption came about again. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, according as it was commanded regarding him. And he had not departed from aught that was ordained for him. So what's ordained for him and everybody? To follow his laws and his ways that were written down for Moses. They've always been before then. If you've been following my channel, you'll know that. We went over that.
Can I have a soda, please?
Yes, go, please. Sorry. And Yahweh said that He would destroy everything which was upon the earth, both men and cattle and beasts and fowl of the air, and that which moves on the earth. And He commanded Noah to make him an ark, and he might save himself from the waters of the flood. And Noah made the ark in all respects as he commanded him. In the 27th Jubilee of years, the 5th week, in the 5th year, on the new moon of the 1st month. And he entered in the 6th year thereof, and in the 2nd month on the new moon, and of the 2nd month, on the new moon of the 2nd month, till the 16th, and he entered, and all that we brought to him into the ark, and Yahweh closed it from without on the 17th evening. So I know this kind of sounds like a lot, and it is. But if you do the math and you line this up, especially with the calendar I follow, the Zadok Enoch calendar, so many things line up on feast days. And this, watch, I have it on my main YouTube page. It's called Dead Sea Scrolls in the New Testament. I highly recommend watching all 4 of those videos. A lot of information, a lot of scriptures, and a lot of studies that this brother has done, and it's amazing. And it explains actually all this right here. And Yahweh opened 7 floodgates of heaven, and the mouths of the mouths of the fountains of the great deep, 7 mouths in number. And the floodgates began to pour down water from the heaven 40 days and 40 nights. And the fountains of the deep also sent up waters, until the whole world was full of water. And you know, this does not happen on a globe. Nope. Snow globe-esque. Yes. And the waters increased upon the earth. 15 cubits did the waters rise above all the high mountains. And the ark was lift up above the earth, and it moved upon the face of the waters. And the water prevailed on the face of the earth 5 months, 150 days. And the ark went and rested on the top of Lubar, one of the mountains of Ararat. Also on my main page, one of Ron Wyatt's discoveries is this ark on Mount Lubar that he found. Highly recommend that as well. If you don't know about Ron Wyatt, search him and study everything he's found. He actually 10 years ago he helped to open my eyes up to all this. You know, technically there's more actual proven historical events and places that are found in history. Proofs, illegitimate proofs. You can't refute these proofs. A proven biblical history. There's more proofs of that than there is anything about space. Space is all made up. It's a lie. They have no proof. Zero. None. Green screens. Smoke machines. Pseudoscience. None of what they say can ever be proven. Oh, can on a math equation. Oh yeah? You can make a math equation to fit anything you like. It cannot be proven. If it can't be proven, it's not science. Therefore, NASA lies and they practice pseudoscience. 100%. Anyway. And on the new moon in the 4th month, the fountains of the great deep were closed, and the floodgates of heaven were restrained. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abyss of the earth were opened, and the water began to descend in the deep below. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen. And on the new moon of the 1st month, the earth became visible. So we already went over pretty much how, the sun is the sign for the major sign for days and Shabbats and all that, and months. Notice how here it says the first new moon of the month. It doesn't say the new moon, meaning month. It has them separate, new moon and month. Month isn't for moons, or moon isn't for months. It's off, totally off. We cannot be barking at the moon and following it. That's what the Zionists do. That's what everybody does, except for the ones who actually understand. And the water, excuse me, and the waters disappeared from above the earth in the 5th week, in the 7th year thereof, and on the 17th day, in the 2nd month, the earth was dry. And on the 27th thereof, he opened the ark, and sent forth from it beasts and cattle and birds and every moving thing. Yeah, there's a whole lot in here. It's pretty amazing. Just so much is jam-packed in the Jubilees alone. Too many people like to read Enoch and follow Enoch and lift Enoch above every other book, when they forget Jubilees goes right along with that. Jubilees describes everything in Enoch basically and breaks it down. Enoch does not follow the moon. He does not. Nowhere in Enoch is it written to follow the moon. This is why we must read all scriptures to gain all context. Too many people walking around with pride like they know everything. Then you challenge what they believe. They want to call you a hypocrite and rebuke you and this and that. Why? Have I become your enemy for showing you the truth? Let that pride go. I see way too much of that. Way too much. People thinking they know everything, know every aspect. Nope. Nobody does. Nobody does. There's only one. And you ain't him. I'm not him. None of us are him. I read what's written, and I take it for what's written, and I pull the context. Once you get used to doing that and getting context, you can clearly get it out of everything. And getting context means reading his scriptures cover to cover. Alright. So, we'll go on to chapter 6. I know I talk a lot. Alright, chapter 6. And on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went from the ark, and built an altar on the mountain. And he made an atonement for the earth, and took a kid and made atonement by its blood, for all the guilt of the earth, and for everything that had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah. So, these whole first verses here in chapter 6, it's describing Noah following Torah. Noah was before Moses, but he's following Torah. Don't tell me the law was done away with. He never changes. Not then, Not now, not ever. He's always the same. So if everybody from Adam and Eve was doing and following his Torah, why would this generation be exempt? Uh-uh. That's twisting scriptures to your own demise. And you're going to hear, away from me, I never knew you. Anyway, there's just too many people that want to fight and argue instead of just listening and reading. You know, they don't listen to the people that are trying to help them. They just want to challenge you if you go against what they believe or they've been taught. It's like, man. And he placed the fat thereof on the altar, and he took an ox, and a goat, and a sheep and kids, and salt, and a turtle dove, and the young of a dove, and placed an ascending smoke sacrifice on the altar, and poured thereon an offering mingled with oil, and sprinkled wine, and strewed frankincense over everything, and caused a goodly savor to arise, acceptable before Yahweh. Look at that. All these things he was doing that are all described in Torah as well. Before Moses. It's just so amazing. Like, you know, once you realize this and you realize we're supposed to still be following his ways, then a whole lot more makes sense. A whole lot more makes sense. And Yahweh smelled the goodly savor, and he cut a covenant with him that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest, should never cease, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever. You know, and because he approved of what Noah was doing there, and he loved it, and Noah was doing it to bless and cleanse the earth, he made a covenant with him to never flood it again. And you, increase ye, and multiply on the earth, and become many upon it, and be a blessing upon it. The fear of you and the dread of you I will inspire in everything that is on the earth and in the sea. And behold, I have given unto you all beasts, and all winged things, and everything that moves on the earth, and the fish in the waters, and all things for food, as the green herbs. I have given you all things to eat. You know, this is not saying unclean animals, because if you look, he's separating animals and things for food also being animals, because unclean things were not considered food, hence the separation. All things for food, meaning the green herbs and the clean animals. Not the bottom feeders and the fecal matter eaters. Not the predators. None of that. But flesh with the life thereof, with the blood, ye shall not eat. So the blood is the life. So never eat any blood. None of that. No eating blood, no drinking blood, none of that. For the life of all flesh is in the blood, lest your blood of your lives be required. And at the hand of every man, at the hand of every beast, will I require the blood of man. Whoso sheds a man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. And you increase ye and multiply on the earth. And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he cut a covenant before Yahweh Elohim forever, throughout all generations of the earth, in his mouth. Forever, throughout all generations of the earth. That's that. What else can you say? It doesn't say until my son comes, until I send the Messiah. Or, when the Messiah dies, don't worry about it. Nope, none of that. It says forever, forever. On this account he spoke to you, that you should cut a covenant with the children of Yasharel in the month upon the mountain with an oath, and that you should sprinkle blood upon them, because all the words of the covenant which Yahweh made with them forever. And it's not a different covenant at all. This is the same covenant he made with Noah. He just wrote it down for Moses. Same covenant he made with Adam and Eve, all that. Everything, it's the same covenant. The same covenant then, the same covenant now. And this testimony is written concerning you, that you should observe it continually, so that you should not eat on any day any blood of beasts or birds or cattle during all days of the earth. And the man who eats the blood of beasts or of cattle or of birds during all the days of the earth, he and his seed shall be rooted out of the land. You don't want that. And do you command the children of Yasharel to eat no blood, so that their names and their seed may be before Yahweh Eloheinu continually? And for this Torah there is no limit of days, for it is forever, and they shall observe it throughout their generations. See, he's straight up, and for this Torah, that's what he straight up calls it. They shall observe it throughout their generations, so that they may continue supplicating on your behalf with blood before the altar every day, and at the time of morning and evening they shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpet. So, we no longer have to give animal and blood offerings and such, because there is one who offered this eternally after his offering. That's Messiah. He offered his life and his blood forever for our forgiveness as a sin offering. That way we don't have, because he knew there was going to be no more temple. The Levitical priesthood was already corrupted. Actually, they were just tossed out, and a new priesthood was inserted. He had already told them the temple was going to be destroyed, and not one stone would be standing of it. Because when he offered himself up, he became our high priest forever, being clean forever, without sin forever. Why? So he can go to Yahweh on our behalf for the sins that we do. Amazing. let's see. Where was I? Alright. And shall seek forgiveness on your behalf perpetually before Yahweh, that they may guard it and not be rooted out. And he gave to Noah and his sons a sign that there should not be again a flood on the earth. He sent his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not be again a flood on the earth, to destroy it all the days of the earth. So this is the rainbow, if you didn't know. And this whole alphabet soup movement that they got, the LGBT blah 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 ABCD movement they got, has tried to steal this sign. But they can't. That's Yahweh's eternal sign for us. And they're going to be judged for trying to take what is good and make it evil. Repent. For this reason it is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets that they should celebrate the feast of Shavuot in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year. And this lines up exactly with that brother's teaching about the Zadok Enoch calendar, because he added all these dates and times together, and he actually goes over it in like the second or third video, and it lines up with this exactly. It's just more proof of the Zadok Enoch calendar. It's the one I follow. It's the one he showed me when I was searching. It just came, like, he was like, here it is. This is the one I want you to follow. And I was like, wow, okay. Ever since then, it's just more and more confirmation about it. And this whole feast was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation until the days of Noah. 26 Jubilees and 5 weeks of years. And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 Jubilees and 1 week of years, till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it, until the days of Abraham, and they ate blood. So if you see that, as soon as Noah died, his kids were like, oh, we don't need to do that. Shavuot. This is how much context Jubilees brings into a lot of things. A lot of this isn't in Genesis. It'll just kind of breeze over it and let you know it's there, but it ain't diving into it like this. This is why they removed this book. They don't want people to know these things. They don't want you to know these things. They want you to listen to what Joe Schmo says about it. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. This guy with a title says it's garbage. I wouldn't read it. Yeah, and you haven't, and it's obvious. Follow no man. Titles don't mean squat. How long you've been studying in Zionist Jesuit education doesn't mean squat. Read his word. That means everything. But Abraham observed it. See? Because he put it on Abraham. Because all the people of Noah, or all Noah's sons, they were trying to do away with it. Abraham brought it back. Which is also why he was very blessed in Genesis. And Yitzhak and Yaakov, also why they were blessed. And his children obeyed, or observed it, up to your days. And in your days, the children of Yasharel forgot it, until ye celebrated it anew on this mountain. This is when he brought them out of Egypt, because they had forgotten many of the ways. He had to write them down for them. Why do you think they don't like this book as scripture? They don't like you calling it scripture. Because it reveals way too much. And do you command the children of Yasharel to observe this feast in all their generations? All their generations, for a commandment unto them. One day in the year, this month, they shall celebrate the feast. For this is the feast of Shavuot, and the feast of first fruits of the whole wheat harvest. So this is telling you what time it is. Shavuot, first fruits on the wheat harvest. This feast is twofold, and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it. Celebrate it. So this is putting a lot of emphasis on Shavuot, even saying it is twofold and doubled. I'd say that's very important. For I have written in the Sefer of the first Torah, in that which I have written for you, that you should celebrate it in its season, one day in the year. And I explained to you its sacrifices, that the children of Yasharel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, one day in every year. And on the new moon of the first month, and on the new moon of the fourth month, and on the new moon of the seventh month, and on the new moon of the 10th month, are the days of remembrance, and the days of the seasons, and the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever. So, these are the new moon feasts, right here, that we should celebrate. Does it mean that the moon tells us what month it is? No. We already went over how the sun does that. Does it say the moon tells us when Shabbat is? Nope. Again, went over. The sun is the great sign. Too many out here following the moon. Taking Enoch way out of context. Throwing out Jubilees. Reading Enoch. Oh, who cares about Jubilees? Putting Enoch up on a pedestal. Foolish. All scripture. All scripture. So, and these are the 4 divisions of the year. And these are written and ordained as a testimony forever. And Noah ordained them for himself as feasts for the generations forever. I don't know how many times they can even write forever, but that means forever. So that they have become thereby a memorial unto him. And on the new moon of the first month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day the earth became dry, and he opened the ark, and saw the earth. And on the new moon of the fourth month of the mouths of the depths of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the mouths of the abysses of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen. And Noah was glad. And on this account he ordained them for himself as a feast for a memorial forever. And thus they are ordained. And they placed them onto the heavenly tablets. Each had 13 weeks, from one to another, past their memorial. From the first to the second, and from the second to the third, and from the third to the fourth. And all the days of the commandment will be 250 weeks of days, and these will make the entire year complete. Thus it is engraven, ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year, or from year to year. And command you, the children of Yasharel, that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these will constitute a complete year. See? Jubilees brings Enoch into context. 364-day year. Lines up exactly. The Zadok Enoch calendar. 100% legit. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out. For everything will fall out in them according to their testimony, and they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feast. But if they do neglect, and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will be disturbed, the seasons and the years will be dislodged, and they will neglect their ordinances. So this is exactly what's happened now. So many people fighting over what calendar to follow. Should we follow the moon? Should we follow the sun? Da, da, da. It's written down right here, plain and simple. And all the children of Yasharel will forget, and will not find the path of years, and will forget the new moons, and the seasons, and the Sabbath. Yep. Notice how he separates them too? Doesn't say the new moon / Sabbath. That's foolish and unwise thinking. It just shows you have no clear understanding. You lean on men too much. That is a rampant spirit in the body today. Everyone leaning on this guy and that guy, never reading for themselves. Just take a look for it, and take a look at it for yourself. You'll find exactly what you need to know. And they will go wrong as to the order of the years. For I know from henceforth will I declare it unto you, and it is not of my own devising, for the Sefer lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained. So if you've been kind of noticing the theme as well, there's more than just the 10 Commandments written on these tablets. I think this was the first set that he came down with and had broken. Lest they forget the feasts of the covenant, and walk according to the feasts of the other nations, after their error and their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, and how it disturbs the season, and comes in from year to year, 10 days too soon. See, it's not me calling the ones following the moon ignorant. It's written. Too many people, oh, why you calling me names? It ain't me calling you names. It's written. I'm just passing along the message. Sorry. For this reason the years will come upon them, when they will disturb their order, and make an abominable day to the testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. You followers of the moon, making your moon Shabbat an unclean feast day, drop that right now. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy, for they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. Also, me inserting, stop following the moon. Quit barking at it like Ozzy Osbourne. Foolish and ignorant and unwise, no understanding. For this reason I command and testify to you, that you may testify to them. This is what I try to do, but no, I get hated. Saturday's Saturnalia, da da da. Well, guess what? Every day of the week's named after a pagan god. It's the seventh day. They were originally numbered the seventh day, which is known as Saturday today. For after your death, your children will disturb them, so that they will not make the year 364 days only. And for this reason, they will go wrong as to new moons and seasons, and Sabbaths and feasts, and they will not eat all kinds, and they will eat all kinds of blood with all kinds of flesh. See, look at that. It even states right here, we're supposed to be following the food laws still. Eating all kinds of blood and all kinds of flesh. We're not supposed to eat all these pigs and bottom feeders like shrimp. Trust me, I used to love all that stuff too. And once you figure this out and you realize it, even tasting it is disgusting. Like, I can't stand the taste of pork. I can't stand to even look at shrimp or lobster or none of that. If it doesn't have fins and scales, it ain't to eat. If it's from the water. It's pretty easy right there. Fins and scales is all it needs. If it's got any of those two things, it's good. Alright, I think we'll pause or stop there for today, this evening. Try to keep them about, or at least under an hour, and try to. It gets kind of hot in this room. Let's see. Alright. So let's check the chat here. Yes, exactly, Alyssa. The deeper we get into Jubilees, the more mind blown I become. Thankfully, Yahuwah has shown us these things already, but it makes so much sense why they throw it out. And thank you for doing this, Aki. Thank you. You're awesome, Alyssa. You're like, you have understanding, and you're humble, and you're not like most of these people. Well, I'm not gonna say that, because there's actually quite a few of you that have a lot of understanding and humbleness, and I appreciate that a lot. And there's those few that are on Facebook that they're over here rebuking everybody for everything. Every little thing you do, they're gonna rebuke you for, call you a demon or a heathen. But they're sitting there with logs sticking out of their eyes and face, just every direction, with no understanding of his word. Oh, the earth ain't flat, you're an idiot. Well, according to these almost 300 scriptures, just in canon it says it's flat. That's just in the canon. You include all the extra biblical writings, You probably got almost 1,000 verses that describe a flat geocentric plane with a firmament over it with the sun, moon, and stars. And just an example. This was so beautiful. I'm in awe. Yeah, it is. Like every time I read it, it's amazing. And how people just throw this book out, I don't understand it. It's because they've never tested it or read it. They're listening to Joe Schmo giving his opinion on it, who's probably never read it himself either. Like, why do we lean on these other people? Well, this guy said this guy's read it, so I trust him. You know, that's idiocracy. It's stupid. Go and test it for yourself. Test everything. You know, if this was all happening, they would have made it on, or made a big deal on the news. Yeah, right. Not when it's controlled propaganda. Foolishness. Well, this scientist said that scientist said this, and they both agreed, and blah, 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 and they had this huge mathematical equation that proves it. Oh, yeah, can it be tested and experimented on in a real life situation? Not just a mathematical equation that you made up to fit your dichotomy? Ah. I go off sometimes. Apologies. It's nothing personal to anybody. I know it's the spirit. It's the spirit of separation. And it's the blind delusion. And it's everyone being taught to follow what someone else has said without actually researching it for yourself. Research everything. Test everything. Even what I'm reading to you right now, saying to you. Test it all. Test it all. Don't just blindly follow me either. I'm just a messenger and a servant. I'm a watchman. I do what he asks of me, and that's all. I don't want any credit. I don't want to take any credit. All credit and all esteem go to Yahweh. None of this is from me. None of this is my understanding. This is all his understanding he's given to me through his Ruach. And I pray you guys do the same as well. As some of us are still open to understanding. We are honest about saying we don't think we know. It's all because, like you said earlier, none of us do. Yep. And they don't want to step on a human's toes, but want to step all over Yahweh's. Yeah, exactly. All worried and scared about who they're going to offend. When there's one, you should be extremely scared and worried about who you're going to offend. People's feelings don't mean squat. As we just read earlier, they don't mean squat. Well, I feel this verse says this. Well, do ya? Well, let's get the context and see how Yahweh feels. That's all I'm saying. I've had a couple questions on, how to find context and how do I figure out context. Why am I so good at it? It just takes practice, really. You have to look at the entire chapters. You even have to look at other books, other spots that it's written. It's, once you figure that out, it comes easily and you can see it totally. You can just see it and it'll stick out. I had a lot of help from, Brother Sean Griffin as well with context and looking at context. And it's just when you get context and you understand it and you apply it, it's just so amazing and everything will make so much more sense. And you'll see why so many people, well, I shouldn't say so many, but people like me are trying to say and spread these things. To open your eyes, to start learning and seeing. Look at that context. Look what it says. Was this ever passed off to another generation or another anything? Like, Everything is context. Everything. The generation it's written in, who it's referring to, what it's about. Like, just too many take it out of context, twist everything. Like the whole tithe thing. Churchianity takes that way out of context, and even some ministries. But it was never, ever passed on to anybody but Aaron and his sons and the Levites. Nowhere does it say, well, here goes the tithe to you guys now. Nope. We went over that in my Melchizedek and Levitical differences video. About a 2-hour video going over lots of context. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you guys have been blessed by the readings. I suggest reading this whole book by yourself. It's online. You can find it free online. We're reading out of the Sefer here on my channel because I have a Sefer personally. It's in a few other like apocryphal, like the King James with Apocrypha, the Septuagint with Apocrypha. Like, there's so many places the Book of Jubilees is in. It's in many of the canons across the world still. Anyways, sorry about rambling on. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Join me next week for part 4. And every bit of this book's a piece of meat. I love it. I hope you guys have a blessed week, a blessed evening. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shema Yisrael.